Hi everyone, it's Wendy here. I hope you're all doing well. I'm going to add a filter on my face because it's one of those days. How is everybody? Waiting for a few people to tune in and join us. Oh, probably not that filter. No, that's a bit scary. Let's see how we go. I don't even know if these filters are working. How is everyone? Hi, Crystallized Couture. Hello. How are we all doing? We well? How's everyone's week going? Getting slowly and surely back into the swing of things, I'm sure. These filters aren't working on this. That's okay. You're going to have to put up with my very minimal makeup look for today. Hi, Cakes by Gianluca. White Cherry Invitations. Hello. I'm well. I've been working away on, incredibly busy, that's good to hear, working away on a few projects for Wedded Wonderland. We are finally launching our online courses next week, which I'm so excited about. And obviously we've had about a 6-week delay with that, considering everything that's been happening in the wedding space and, having to focus primarily on communicating with you guys and with, the couples as well, what has been happening in terms of changes and legislation and everything else that's been going on. So I just thought I'd check in to say hi and let you know how things are going, I guess, from our end and updates that we're hearing. So as I'm sure you're all aware, different states are playing out the wedding restrictions based on, I guess, the number of local cases as well as community transmission versus international cases coming through. And we're seeing great progress being made, particularly in South Australia and Western Australia, which is really exciting. So South Australia just last night announced that the 2 square metre rule will start playing out as of the 29th of June, which is really exciting, and that they can dance. So we all want to dance, and this is the big question in regards to weddings, of course, and all private events. But South Australia announced that just yesterday. Western Australia has announced a stage 4 and then a stage 5 breakdown. So they've given their community, I guess, a bit of a roadmap in terms of expectations, and stage 5 means that the square metre rule will be effectively dropped, and we've been told that's happening from mid-July. So really great progress in South Australia and Western Australia. In Queensland, it still stands at, we've had Alicia join us, so you might be able to tell us a little bit more, but it still stands, as far as we're aware, that the 10th of July, from the 10th of July, the 100 packs weddings can start playing out. And as we know, in Victoria, unfortunately, there's a little bit of a hurdle at the moment in terms of these community transmitted cases, sitting at double digits daily and consistently over the past week. So I don't think we'll be hearing too much from Victoria over the next couple of days, or the next few days, until things start to stabilise. In regards to New South Wales, I made the announcement last week, and this was obviously an internal communication that took place in regards to the potential and hope that weddings will play out as normal from August if there aren't a spike or an increase in cases, and if we don't have any other significant issues. So we are waiting from New South Wales to hear that from a legislative perspective, and hopefully that means that we see between now and August a drop to a 2 square metre rule potentially, because we have unrestricted numbers, and then to a no square metre rule with dancing. We may see that happen in between, or it may just go from this all the way through to that announcement. But obviously couples are very, very anxious at the moment. Australia-wide, I feel like there was a big celebration on the Wedded Wonderland group last night from our South Australian couples hearing that they can dance and hearing that the 2 square metre rule is playing out there. The Western Australian couples are feeling, and the industry there is feeling quite confident now. But East Coast, there is a lot of apprehension in regards to proceeding with weddings, particularly in August and in September, because this is when a lot of people are asking questions as to whether, they can dance, whether the square metre rule will be dropped. So as we hear things, we will continue updating, obviously, the industry and the consumer as well. We are quietly confident, I guess, in New South Wales, but, with everything that's happening in Victoria at the moment, it is very concerning. And, we wanted to start a petition for Victorian businesses and for our couples to actually get some more answers, because as it stands, weddings are at 20, but it's kind of counterintuitive now. So we are, touching base with businesses there daily. It's very hard and very difficult, I guess, for couples who feel like every other state is progressing and, they've kind of gone a little bit backwards. So we really need to empathise with our Victorian couples and industry, and just be here and hope for the best, and hope that this is just a hurdle and not a second wave, and not, going back to a full lockdown, but we'll see what happens. What I really wanted to discuss today, and I can see majority of businesses have joined us. I'm sure there are a few couples on here as well. 2 things that I came across yesterday was the ACCC have updated the regulations and the consumer rights pertaining to weddings, especially and particularly around COVID-19, as well as New South Wales Fair Trading. Now, this is something I shared on my personal page, so for those who follow me personally. And I also sent a whole bunch of text messages around at about 10 p.m. last night when I came across this, because I wanted, obviously, a number of business owners to be aware of it. And I don't know how long it's been published for, because there wasn't a date on it, but I could see that a lot of the information is very specific to COVID contingencies and COVID consumer rights, as well as obviously business rights. So I strongly suggest that you have a look at this. It is a link that we have now shared on our website. So our editors just published Know Your Consumer Rights, Australian Weddings. And within that, there is all of the information that's been listed from the ACCC, which is obviously Australia-wide, and look into the New South Wales Fair Trading as well. And it breaks it down into these headings. So I'll just talk you guys through this. My venue has cancelled my booking. Am I entitled to a refund of my deposit? My wedding has been cancelled or reduced in size. Now, this is a really big question. Am I entitled to a refund of the deposit I've paid separately to other vendors for products or services I no longer need, such as my florist, photographer, live band, car hire company, etc.? So this is really important. And a lot of the information around this is obviously advising the consumer to speak to the service provider and to kind of come up with a win-win scenario. We have seen a couple of our couples actually try and negotiate or sell vouchers if they've had to cancel their wedding, and their service providers obviously agreed to give them a voucher on our group. So this is something that will play out, and I just want you guys to be really aware of that. Couples who aren't proceeding with their wedding or have cancelled for whatever reason, and you're providing them with a voucher, you have to be really clear as to whether that can be transferable or not, and for the duration of that time as well. That's really important. And whether the exact, if it's to the value of, or if it's the actual product, and what that product pricing is, and obviously availability. So if they were to transfer that voucher over to someone else and your product wasn't available during that time, what that actually means for your business and the contingencies you have around that. I've received a number of calls from businesses as well in regards to future weddings and events. So for example, if a couple wants to book a wedding in November or an event in September and there's a second wave, what does that mean in the future? So as we know, those who work in the wedding and event space, the COVID-19 couples and events primarily have been postponed or cancelled, and that's for the status quo as of now. But moving forward, if somebody was to book you in knowing that there could potentially be a second wave. What does that mean contractually? And do you have any clauses within your contract that speak now about the pandemic and speak now about, we know of force majeure, which obviously is about out of our hands, but I think it's something that you need to discuss with your clients. And I think it's something that there needs to be agreement on from day one, so there isn't any confusion, and you are removing that apprehension and that anxiety that should things play out where they have to postpone again. For example, if they book you in for September and then they may need to postpone, what does that mean for forward bookings? I'm not sure if anyone's been looking into that, but I have received a few calls around that. And that's not based on a current contract, obviously, because this isn't someone who has postponed. These are about future bookings. Has anyone looked into that? I'm just speaking to business owners now. I'm wondering what you guys are actually doing in terms of your contracts. If anyone wants to answer me, feel free to. I'll continue talking. So there's another contingency in here around purchasing my wedding dress online. Now, so obviously this is about wedding dresses specifically, but if you go into the event and fashion side of the update in ACCC, it's quite similar. I'm worried it won't be delivered. Can I cancel my order and get a refund? So, they've thought about the real specific questions, and this is obviously based off what has been submitted to the ACCC by couples. I want to return my unworn wedding dress, shoes, bridesmaid dresses, etc., because I no longer need them. Am I entitled to a refund for these items? So, guys, it's really important that you read this. So this is now on our website, Know Your Consumer Rights Australian Weddings. But this has been pulled from the ACCC site. And then also, as I said, for those in New South Wales, it is on the Fair Trading site for New South Wales. And if you are in your respective state, please find out what the consumer rights are in regards to weddings and events right now for those in the event space, for those in the beauty space who've joined us, hospitality, because all of these have been updated as part of COVID-19 right now. And it's really important that you're across it, which is why I'm live without any makeup on. I took out wedding insurance. I've been told it doesn't cover me for cancellations due to COVID-19. What can I do? Obviously, the refund for travel for honeymoon is a really big question. And then my guests' travel to my wedding has been cancelled due to a government restriction or a change of mind. Are they entitled to a refund? So, again, really important that you read through this. For those obviously in the venue space, and I spoke to a number of venue owners very late last night, and they're really across the consumer law because obviously they're the ones that are most impacted and the ones that have the most variables as it stands. But for those who have products or services within the wedding space right now, and the big ones are, I bought my bridesmaid dresses 2 months ago, I'm not going ahead with my wedding, can I get a refund? So you are not entitled to a refund under the Australian consumer law if you wish to return wedding items that you have purchased that you no longer require. Under the Australian consumer law, you are only entitled to a remedy if your product fails to meet a consumer guarantee. The remedy you're entitled to will depend on whether you have a major or a minor problem with the product. So that's something that I think, and we shared this in our group last night because obviously it's very important that our couples are aware of what their rights are. And one thing that we raised quite early on, and just so you're aware, was having some sort of litigation process for the wedding and event market should it play out that these postponed events don't actually come to fruition. The wedding and event market is over 90% small business, over 50% are sole traders. And, I'm sure that not many of you have full-time lawyers on hand. And this would become a very, very big and very complex issue, both from the ACCC perspective, from the consumer perspective, and from the industry standpoint. So I'm hoping that these weddings and events that have been booked in the next few months do play out. But if they don't, and for whatever reason people want to cancel, or they want to reduce, or they want to postpone, or they want to return, please read your rights as a consumer and as a service provider, and ensure that moving forward your contracts are up to date, because I don't think this is, and it hasn't been, a short-term thing. We're almost in July. This has been playing out since March. We're seeing, Victoria, unfortunately, now, in the midst of an increase in cases. We don't know what's going to happen. So and obviously we're a long shelf life industry. So we are really needing to think about what the next 12 to 18 months actually look like and how to have those conversations. And they're difficult conversations, but you must have them early on, particularly with new inquiries, to protect yourself and obviously to protect your consumer as well. So that's on our website. That's the update from me today. Sorry to be talking legalities. Boring. It's stuff that we need to be aware of. My husband's a lawyer, and whenever he starts to speak to me about contracts, I'm like, oh my God. But obviously now more than ever, contracts are vital and important and a huge part of how our industry will operate moving forward. So still anxious here in Queensland. Thank you for always keeping us so informed. My pleasure. Any updates on dancing? So dancing, hello to our friends at One Fine Day Wedding Fairs. Thank you for reaching out to us as well. I just want to say a shout out to people that we have worked with in the past, and some businesses who do incredible things in the industry, who've reached out and said, how can we help and what's going on, and let us know how we can work together. So it's amazing what's come out of this, I guess, the camaraderie in the industry. So thank you. Update on dancing. The only place we know you can dance that have officially said you can dance is South Australia. So let's see what happens in the other states. We have obviously heard from Western Australia that stage 5, which I believe is July 18th, but don't quote me on that. I know it's mid-July. There's a 0 square metre rule basically. So we're fingers crossed for Western Australia. But we'll see what happens in other states, and obviously we'll let you know. I have added a section in my contract for new couples regarding COVID. Fantastic. Good job, Melrose Couture. For those who've just joined us, I'm speaking about contracts and about having an understanding of what has been released from the ACCC, from Fair Trading, keeping your... And, contracts is one of those things I think that so many people don't read the fine print on. I think now people are going to read the fine print, particularly with, the apprehension in regards to weddings and events. So being as transparent as possible with your consumer is definitely something that needs to happen moving forward. And obviously being aware of what the law is and what people are or aren't entitled to. So that's really important. This is on our website now, as I said. If there's certain clauses or questions, I'm sure that you can contact the ACCC directly in regards to your business and have a chat with people. Again, this is a time where we need to come together and speak to our competitors and find out what they're doing and how they're updating their contracts and find out, collectively what works best moving forward. But it's something that I think is really important. So Tiny Tots, make sure you read the event side of things. There's a whole section which I was reading about in regards to events with ticketed events and what's happening in that regard if you have booked for any ticketed event the second half of the year, and if that's cancelled or postponed, what the rights of the consumer is in regards to travel, in regards to private events. So it has all been updated. I don't know when it happened, but I seem to have found it last night. So I think it would be quite recently, because I have kind of been stalking everything in regards to weddings from a government perspective. But just have a read and just make sure your contracts are up to date and speak to each other. And if you have any questions, let us know and we'll see what we can do to get some answers for you. So does anyone have any questions for me? Any thoughts? Any ideas on how we can start dancing? That's a big one. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, in New South Wales, we do hear something soon. Look, I'm confident in Queensland that you guys will receive an update shortly as well, particularly with the Prime Minister stepping up and saying, let's open everything up with unrestricted numbers at a 25% capacity. So, we'll see what happens with Queensland. But we also need to bear in mind that, I don't know if anyone saw the Novak Djokovic event that was hosted with Croatia and Serbia, and that he's now tested positive, and he's saying I should have been more mindful. It was too soon to do this event. So it's one of those things that I think we all want to see each other. We all want to have a great time. We all want to host our events, and we want to celebrate. But the world is experiencing something that's unprecedented as well. So we don't want to. We still need to be cautious, and we need to understand that. As you all know, a wedding isn't just two people. It's the whole family and the friends. I actually saw something. We'll share it here. Afterwards, and it was a post that was actually shared by a bridal blog, and on entry to a wedding there were 3 different wristbands. I'm actually going to pull it up. There were 3 different wristbands that you could put on, and the wristbands were in regards to, I can't speak today, were in regards to what you're happy to do, or from an engagement or interactive perspective at a wedding or at an event. So I'm just going to pull it up here because I thought it was really interesting. So, for example, one of the wristbands was, I'm happy to hug and kiss and say hi. Another one was, I am completely social distancing. And another one was kind of in between. And I thought that was really interesting, that people are thinking that way in terms of events. And, that is a very quick and easy way to communicate from a client perspective. So, okay with hugs and high fives. Okay with talking was another one, and then I'm social distancing. So there's an idea for you guys. I mean, we really need to start thinking outside the box in terms of how people are willing to interact moving forward, and you can't tell by someone's face. And it's one of those things. I mean, I've been seeing relatives and friends, and my relatives will come up and give me a hug and give me a kiss on the cheek, and then I'm like, oh hey, because I'm not used to it, and then others kind of put their a fist pumping. But at events it's difficult to control because you do have so many family and friends in the room, and I guess different people have different ideas. So I think if it's, and not something that's overt, but definitely like a wristband, or I don't know, a ribbon that someone can wear or something like that, that can be really clearly identifiable, that will really work at events. I love the idea. We'll share it because it was another blog that actually shared it, and I thought, okay, that's really cool. So definitely start thinking outside the box in terms of even suggesting that. So with the Shoes Live, so with weddings, Jordana, and dancing could have tables removed. Absolutely. So even with so this was a bit of a cheeky suggestion from my end in regards to dancing. So if you could only have 25% capacity, so if they go with a 4 square meter rule, and 4 square meter rule on the dance floor is potentially breaking up the dance floor into quarters, into different sections, more space around tables so people can dance around their table, and that kind of thing, just to break up a wedding. And so that there's a certain capacity that can actually fit on each dance floor. And you have to remember, for weddings that have 400 people are not on the dance floor at the one time. But I think it's just a way to control it and say, look, we're doing everything from our end in terms of splitting up the dance floor and space. So I'm not sure if you guys heard my announcement last week, but there has been a request made in regards to dancing, specifically in New South Wales, with 3 different options that have been presented. And it is something that has been put forward by the Restaurant Catering Association. And so hopefully we were hoping to hear something end of this week, early next week, in regards to whether any of these measures have actually been considered and taken up just for the July weddings. And what that, it's basic things like allowing the traditional dances to take place, or allowing that 4 square meter rule on the dance floor, and things like that. So or allowing 2 half an hour or 45-minute increments on the dance floor, so people aren't on the dance floor the whole time. So there has been a request put in regards to different contingency measures for weddings in New South Wales in regards to dancing. I'm not sure if something similar is being discussed in Queensland. And obviously we know what's happening in the other states. But I do think that, as one state starts to open up and starts to build more confidence in their community, and, we are all sort of learning from each other in terms of how these contingency plans and measures are actually playing out. And so hopefully, it is successful in South Australia and Western Australia, and, everyone basically follows suit after that. And, it comes down to population, number of cases, and management, I guess, more than anything. And, you know, I have heard theories that it's, you know, where it's really cold, the virus can thrive. So obviously being Victoria and our coolest state, that may have something to do with it. We don't know. So we just have to wait and see, and, you know, hope for the best for those in Victoria, and obviously in all states, and all of our couples who are really apprehensive at the moment. Just wondering if anyone has any other questions for me in regards to contracts. Thank you, One Fine Day. Thanks, guys, for your compliment. Calligraphy on Vogue. Hello, Yazen. Hi. You've seen a few people join us. Hi, Rania. Yvonne. Hello. So if there's any other comments or questions, otherwise I will leave you to get back to work. We'll replay this as an IGTV. Look into your contracts, look into what the updates are online, and feel free to contact us anytime with your ideas. If you want to join our Wedded Wonderland group, it's a really great, it's a really amazing group that's, I guess, formed on Facebook, and you know, primarily it is couples discussing what their questions and concerns are, and ideas, and it gives you a real insight in terms of what's happening from a consumer perspective. We've obviously asked businesses not to promote themselves. It's not for that. The reason why we've added business owners on there is to actually be able to provide a bit of advice and insight, and to have that understanding. Otherwise, we would just leave it as a consumer group. But for right now, I think it's really important that we play our role as being, you know, the conduit between both parties, and that, you know, everyone, I mean, effectively, and this is what we keep saying, we all want our couples to get married, and we want them to have, you know, an amazing wedding and a safe wedding, and all events, for those in the event space on here, all private events. It's all, we're all in the same boat, but weddings specifically have a lot, I guess, of investment, a lot of time, very emotional. These couples are on, you know, some couples who don't live together, for example, are on hold with their mortgage repayments. We've had couples email us about IVF treatments that have been put on hold. Like, this is real, and this is what I've been trying to really, really push, is that it's not just about the wedding, it's about what the wedding means as the start of the rest of someone's, you know, life together. So it's that journey that we definitely don't want a halt on, but we'll see what happens. I think things are, you know, definitely we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. We're very fortunate to be in Australia. So if there aren't any more questions, I will leave you to have some lunch, and hopefully see you guys soon with some good news. We'll see how we go, but check this out. So it's Know Your Consumer Rights Australian Weddings on our site. Otherwise, feel free just to go direct ACCC and obviously Fair Trading. Have a wonderful day, everyone. Bye for now. Everyone's really quiet. Oh, quiet. Bye.